Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for a little bit of pre-modern content for you lovely people out there. At the request of a donor, I am trying out a lands build. And I found a build online and tweaked it just slightly, and this is what we've come up with. So we've got a bunch of lands that cast our spells, and then we've got a bunch of business lands in the form of Wasteland, Rishadan Port, Dust Bowl, Kor Haven, and Glacial Chasm. So some of these will keep us alive, some of them will stop our opponent from being able to play the game. That's generally what we're trying to do here. And the payoff for being a lands deck is doing the exploration thing alongside Horn of Greed. So whenever a player plays a land, that player draws a card. So our Undiscovered Paradise bouncing every turn is going to be giving us more Horn of Greed triggers. Our Rith Grove bouncing some of our lands back to hand gives us more Horn of Greed triggers. So we're just going to be churning through our deck as best we can. And the payoff at the end of the day is either Seismic Assault or Goblin Trenches. So we can either make a bunch of 1/1 guys and kill our opponent that way, or we can dome them to the face with the Seismic Assault. There's a few interesting little wrinkles in here. So like the Summer Bloom allows us to have a really big turn. We draw loads and loads of cards. We have Gaea's Blessing, which we can then use to loop cards when we get to the end and just keep looping stuff for our Seismic Assault or whatever. We've got ourselves a trade route. This allows us to bounce all of our lands to our hand to pitch them to a Seismic Assault, as well as just bouncing lands to keep the Horn of Greed going. And we have Enlightened Tutor and Gamble to find all these pieces, so we can be getting our Seal of Cleansings, our trade routes, our win conditions, our horns. And we have a couple of crop rotations where we need to find specific cards in our mana base. Out of the sideboard, we can transform into an Oath of Druids deck. So we can do the Oath of Druids thing, and we can just go and get Ancestors Chosen, which will then gain us a whole bunch of life, and that's pretty damn good. Then we've got ourselves Aura of Silence, Sacred Ground, Ray of Revelation, Cop Red. So we've got a lot of stuff we can choose for with our Enlightened Tutor here, including the Cursed Totem as well. We've got some Red Blast, because Red Blast are just good. And then we have this Ancient Hydra. So what we can do with this is we can use this to ping away any creatures, and we can remove all the counters from this so that our opponent doesn't get an Oath trigger if we're killing off their guys. So if this is necessarily the one we want as opposed to the Shard Phoenix, I don't know. But I've never played this card, so we're going to try it out today. That's pretty much what we're at here. So like, subscribe. There's a link in the description to a little guide to Premodern as a format if you're not sure about it. And let's get landsing some people up. Have you got magic cards you don't want taking up space in your home, or do you just need some extra spending money? Well, my lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all collections, big and small. They are one of Europe's biggest traders and have a transparent process to sell them cards and make sure you're getting a good deal. Click the link in the description of this video to get an offer on your cards today. Our opening hand is relying a little bit on the Sylvan Library, but it's quite the Magic the Gathering card, so we will keep this and hope it doesn't get duressed out of our hands straight away. A Mountain. A Seal of Fire. This is not a recursive source of damage, which is nice for us. I believe our opponent is probably playing Burn, so the Wasteland, not the most useful thing here. Maybe we can clip a Barbarian Ring or something at some point. Alright, we've got a Brushland in. Not really one we want to be tapping for mana, but we're probably just going to use the Paradise or the Rith Grove. But we're going to get the Sylvan Library in. This is going to be a matchup where Price of Progress is going to eat us alive. A Karplusan Forest. Our opponent is not just straight up mono red. They might just be this red-green beatdown deck that's around. Alright, so we've got a Sylvan Library over there. Okay. So we're just going to be dueling libraries. So our life total is not going to be under threat as immediately as I feared. Okay, I think I want to keep my lands in play, and I will take damage of this since they're not burn. And I'll get just a Wasteland in now, I think. I'll take one for a little Sylvan Library. We can have dueling libraries. Okay, they naturalized our library. That was kind of an important part of our plan, so that's a little bit annoying. I will take out this Karplusan Forest. I'll deploy a Rishadan Port. And I'll pass. I don't need to play out the Mox Diamond just yet. Let's tap down there any land. Alright, they're shocking us. So they're probably playing things like River Boa and Rancor, Call of the Herd. That's kind of what the green is going to be for. Naturalizes, Sylvan Library. Alright, they're paying a bunch of life to keep some cards. I think that makes sense. I guess we just play out an Undiscovered Paradise. And then in our opponent's upkeep, we'll tap the land down again. They're paying the life to get through the pile so they can try and find some lands. We might just be getting shocked or something like that again. Or bolted. Another Seal of Fire. Sure. Opponent's life total is a little bit low. 2 mana. So we could get the Seismic Assault in now if we want to. Don't think we do though. I'll float some mana off this. Not that we're really doing anything with it anyway. I'll play the Risk Groves and I'll bounce this Brushland. And then we will tap our opponent's land down with the intention of maybe next turn trying to get this Seismic Assault in and killing our opponent with it. How much damage do you have? 2, 4, 6, 8. So if we draw a land for turn, we kill our opponent next turn. Or if they pay life off the Sylvan Library. Not really how I drew up this deck going, but I'll take it. They didn't take an extra card. Carplusan Forest. Take an extra life, though. You just need to lose 1 life, then I can kill your opponent. Alright, I've taken 1 off this Carplusan Forest. Gaea's Blessing. You got it, boss. So we should kill our opponent next turn now. We don't need another land. Okay, so it doesn't really matter here, does it? Play this Risk Grove. I'll bounce this Port. We'll cast this delightful little Seismic Assault. 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, we had enough anyway, right? Or no? Did we draw a land? I think we drew a land this turn, didn't we? All right. So some sort of red-green beatdown deck. Circle of Protection red doesn't seem the worst. I don't know how much they're going to be messing with our lands. Probably not very much. The Ray of Revelation can take out some bits and pieces. Like, you can take out a library. I'm not really sure that's where I want to be. They have to be a beatdown deck, though. So we probably just want to play these Oath of Druids. I hate Oath of Druids, to be honest. It's just too good. It's just like, oh, I get to invalidate my opponent's strategy. Nice. So if we take out maybe the Summer Blooms here, we're not trying to do that level of things. I don't mind having the Seal of Cleansing here. Having a tutor, having 5 tutors for Oath of Druids feels like a good place to be. Maybe we don't want to give our opponent too many Horn of Greed triggers. And we just get rid of a Mox. And that's fine. We're a 61 card deck, so we'll do what we can do. Like, maybe we could board in some like Cop Rebs and stuff like that. But I think just doing the Oath of Druids plan is good enough. We can play out some lands here. I think we just mulligan and try and dig our way towards... Okay, I think we can keep this one, though. I don't think we need this Glacial Chasm. Like, obviously it has some text against what our opponent's trying to do and burn us out. But we're not like the lands decks you see in Legacy where we can just recur it all the time. Seal of Fire again. I will play an Exploration. I will play an Undiscovered Paradise. Because we don't mind this bouncing because we have 2 lands in hand anyway. So ideally we want our opponent to play a creature, then we can just go and get this Oath of Druids and we're all good. They have to be playing some creatures if they're running... Well, they have to be playing creatures regardless. Okay. Treetop Village. Kind of a little bit annoying. I don't think we're going to fire off an Enlightened Tutor just yet. I think we're just going to go for our Sylvan Library this turn. Right, we'll play these out. That's Sylvan Library. So green off of this. Colourless off of this. And then we can Wasteland the Treetop Village. And then we can Enlightened Tutor in our opponent's turn if we want the Oath of Druids. Which I think we do. But again, we don't want Oath of Druids straight away. Right, they're just shocking us to the face. They don't play a creature here. What do we get instead? I guess we fire it off and have a look. Do I want a Horn of Greed? It seems kind of scary to get a Horn of Greed right now, doesn't it? Our opponent drawing extra burn spells doesn't seem the best for us. But we need to get something going, really. We could get like a Trade Routes. That doesn't seem the most exciting. Maybe we'll just get the Horn of Greed. We don't have to play it immediately either. Got our Sylvan Library ticking up. I think we just put these on top. I'm not just going to play the Horn of Greed out until I can get the cards straight away off of it. So we're just going to hold this. If our opponent plays a creature, then we go and get the Oath of Druids. Incinerate. Sure. Just play a creature. Let us Oath. Doesn't look like that's what's happening. But this turn we get to draw 2 additional cards. They might be sandbagging their land drops for next turn because we have the Horn of Greed. So we'll say yes to this and draw some extra cards. Okay, we don't really need the Gemstone Mine or the Wastelands, really. Although we kind of want to have a second land here. Is that worth paying for life, though? Yeah, okay. Got Horn of Greed in. We get to draw the land and put the land in as well. So we do have it all. So we're starting to do our thing. We'll obviously tap this Undiscovered Paradise so it bounces back. Yep, our life total is a little on the precarious side. So they just have burnt and nothing else. Alright, let's get this Enlightened Tutor on the go. What do I like here? We could go and get an exploration so we can just keep playing more lands. That's not the worst. We could go and get trade routes to try and cycle through things a little bit more. We could just get another Horn of Greed and just draw more cards. I guess we're drawing more cards. Let's see what Sylvan Library has in store for us. Okay. We just put these on top. We'll draw them anyway this turn. We are losing our Gemstone Mine, but we should be fine with that. Let's play this Undiscovered Paradise, draw some cards. Play another Undiscovered Paradise, draw some cards. Okay, so we can go and tutor for the trade routes and then have Seismic Assault going next turn. Another Seal of Fire. Okay. Let's Enlightened Tutor. We don't need to tap the other one because we have enough land drops to make. We go and get the trade routes here. Alright, our opponents had enough. I think that's pretty reasonable. They're having a little bit of lag as well, but they just couldn't draw lands, and we're about to draw, you know, another 4 cards. Alright, on to round 2. Okay, our hand for round number 2 is a turn 2 Sylvan Library. That seems like a perfectly suitable thing to do. We can even hold up a crop rotation if we want to. Not that we can get like Bajuka Bogs or anything in this format, but we can still get like a Clutch Wasteland perhaps. Alright, we've got Mishra's Factory on the other side of the table into a Cursed Scroll. This could be several different decks. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a mono black poxy style thing. Okay, I like having access to Brushland. Do I want to... I don't really want to burn down this Gemstone Mine. So we use this Brushland to cast our Exploration, and then we probably play out the Gemstone Mine, just in case for some reason we need to crop rotate for something. Some weird combo kill where we need like a Glacial Chasm to live through it or something. Seems very unlikely, but it's free to leave this out. Bad Moon. Black creatures get bigger. Alright, so we're on some sort of mono-black goodness over there. What do we have this turn? If we draw another land, we might also just sandbag them. Okay. I think we play out the port here so we don't burn a counter on our mine. And then we go for... I'll take 1 here, I think is okay. Get the Sylvan Library in with the intention of drawing up some lands and being able to Horn of Greed and draw more cards. And just draw through the entire Sylvan Library pile every turn using the Horn of Greeds. Phyrexian Negator. Okay. It's big. But it does have a bit of the old drawback on it. So the Rith Grove is excellent news for us. I don't really want this gamble right now. We'll put this on top of the library, and then we'll put the Reflecting Pool on top of the library. And then we play the Horn of Greed. Then we play a Rith Grove. And then we will bounce our Gemstone Mine, reset the counters, draw a card from this. Then we can play this Reflecting Pool, which taps for the colours we need it to. We can go and get a Kor Haven next turn. That seems pretty good. We can also use that to shuffle our Sylvan Library pile if we want to draw different things from it. So we just pass over here. We're going to take a hit for 6, but then the Kor Haven can keep this at bay until a Wasteland pops in on our opponent's side. We don't know if they're running Wastelands, but if they're a mono black deck, it's not too shabby. We could also Wasteland this factory. Is it more important to Wasteland the factory or get the... I think it's more important to get the Kor Haven, because the amount of damage this Negator does is a little bit too much for me. If we can get a... I don't really want to gamble for a Seismic Assault, but we could do some pretty gross things with it. Because we can make our opponent sacrifice loads of permanents because they got Negator. Sarcomancy, sure. This is going to be a 3/3 due to the Bad Moon. Looks pretty good. Alright, Sylvan Library, hook me up. A Dust Bolt, not that useful, but not completely irrelevant because they do have a Mishra's Factory over there. Wasteland and Kor Haven. Well, these are cards that I require. I will... What is the best solution to this? I don't think we need this. That can go on top. I kind of want to pay 4 life, which feels a little bit dangerous. I just want more cards for when we crop rotate here. Sorry, not crop rotate, gamble. So we have red, red, and then we have another red off the Gemstone Mine. Alright, I'm going to pay the 4 life, I think. That could be a little bit risky. So actually, no, we don't have triple red. Right. I think we have to... We can use a Brushland. I think we want to gamble first. I would like a Seismic Assault, please. We discarded the Wasteland, which isn't ideal for us. We'll play this Gemstone Mine out. That's our first land for the turn. There's an exploration. Okay, so this has to go green into crop rotation. I'm going to get rid of the Brushland. We go and get a Rith's Grove here, I think. And we float red off of this first. And then we bounce the mine. Then we can play the mine if we want to. But we don't necessarily want to do that. Seismic Assault. So this can answer the factory. You can also do some work against the negator. I could try and play an additional land and draw some more cards. We're in a bit of a bind here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have 9 permanents. Maybe this was just a bad play, to be honest. Alright, let's play this Kor Haven out. Summer Bloom. That's not going to help us here. We can throw some damage at this. We can throw some damage so we can tap this down, but this is just going to kill us, right? We're not going to be able to make them sacrifice enough permanents. I think we just messed that one up. But we get much better from the sideboard. Oath of Druids looks pretty good against our opponent's aggro deck, so let's get the Ancestors chosen and the Hydra in. They've got some like artifacty enchantments that I wouldn't mind destroying, like Bad Moon is a good one. I guess the Rare Revelation probably does a better job of that, and I think that's fine. We need to make some cuts. I think it's the Summer Blooms that come out here. I like the Horns, the Trenches, this all seems fine. Gamble to get us the Oath. That's kind of like a package here. So these cards kind of go with the Oath to make sure that we can get that going. Maybe we don't need trade routes and we don't need as many win conditions, so we can deal with get rid of a Seismic Assault here. Do we have time to be doing library stuff? Probably. It's still pretty good. Maybe just take out these crop rotations. They're okay though. They can go and find us the Kor Haven, which is kind of a big deal. Just going too all in on the Oath of Druids if we do it this way. Like, our opponent won't be able to answer an Oath of Druids very easily. Maybe I'll trim 1 exploration and keep 1 crop rotation in. Because multiple explorations don't always get us where we need to go. I think I just played that last round. The last game horribly, sorry. We could have played the Kor Haven and the Wasteland. And then we'd only take 3 that turn. So what does this hand do? Sure, we keep this. This is the turn 2 Oath of Druids. And it's protected as well because our opponent can't duress it away. Kind of interested in working out what we're supposed to pitch to this Mox Diamond. I think it's the port. Because the Seismic Assault is just going to be relatively useful as we progress. But the main thing we're trying to do is just set up the turn 2 Oath. So we'll bin this off. I guess we didn't need to do this right now, but we kind of want to get the mana out from underneath our feet a little bit. Because if they can dress away the Mox Diamond, which I guess isn't the biggest deal. So maybe we're not supposed to play that out. I'm not sure. They could have Dystopia. Cabal Therapy. Do I think they're going to name Enlightened Tutor? They might do. There's no reason to risk it here. Let's Enlightened Tutor. Let's go Oath of Druids. That makes our opponent's life quite difficult, I would imagine. What do they name here? Seismic Assault. They wouldn't name Exploration because we would have played it if we had it. Horn of Greed. So they hit the Horn of Greed. But this game, in theory, is about this Oath of Druids. So our opponent can't deploy stuff to the board, and if they're mono black like we think they are, they're not going to be able to answer it unless they have Dystopia. And that doesn't come down for a couple of turns still. So it's going to buy us time to operate with. So we can play our Reflecting Pool, we'll use this with our Mox Diamond, get the Oath in. Okay, so playing creatures is not a great idea for our opponent. We can gain a lot of life. So if we find the Ancestor chosen, it can gain us a huge amount. Alright, they're just leaning into it and seeing how bad it's going to be. They could just take this out of our hand though. Okay, yeah, that's what they're doing. So they're leaving us with nothing, but they also don't have anything in play. They've got cards in hand though. A Horn of Greed. Do I even play that this turn? I don't think so. I want to get the first draw off of the Horn of Greed. I don't want our opponents to get the first draw. At times just drop a thing. It is the Dystopia. So we're going to lose the Oath of Druids. Alright. Here goes our plan. Undiscovered Paradise. Drawing a card. We've got another Undiscovered Paradise. I don't know if they continue to pay for this. They probably just use it as like a 3-mana disenchant in black. Oh no, they're paying the counter. That's interesting. I guess their life total might not be the most important thing, and this kind of just stops other bits coming down. So now we have to deal with a negator. Not a card that I'm particularly fond of in the format. I don't think it's great, but it's certainly going to smash us to pieces here. An exploration, you say? That's a pretty good one, isn't it? Alright, let's... I wish I'd have bounced the... I guess we're not going to play the exploration out into the dystopia though, are we? But next turn we can bounce both of these Undiscovered Paradises and keep it going. I think I'm just playing this round a little bit poorly, to be honest. So we had better lines in both games. And maybe we're supposed to hold the Oath until they play a creature. But they can still just hold the dystopia and break it that way. Another negator, yikes. Got some big friends. This is something I find with the lands deck sometimes. If people just make some guys, it can feel really awkward. An Enlightened Tutor. Like, the Oath isn't really going to help here. Let's have a look. What can we go and get here? The Seismic Assault is kind of interesting. So we go white and Enlightened Tutor here. We go and get... Where is our... Oh, the Seismic Assault's gone, hasn't it? I guess it's Goblin Trenches. I will play our land out. We will draw our card. I guess we play green here. Get this out. An Ancestor's Chosen. Not quite the mana we require for this one. So white, red, red. We get the trenches down. So we're going to take 10 this turn. But then hopefully we can just keep making enough blockers that we can kind of get where we need to go. We could also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're a little bit shy of the Ancestor Chosen, but not by a million miles. They're still paying for the dystopia. So what we have to do is we have to sacrifice a thing in response to the dystopia trigger so we can keep getting stuff. Sinister Strength. It's just like unholy strength, but sticks around. Okay, you got me, Yikes. We got absolutely crushed there. I definitely think we had better lines. Sorry, it's tabbed us back to here, but we'll talk about the game. I think we had better lines if we'd have, in game 1, just gone for the Wasteland plan and the Kor Haven. I think things just would have been better. I just don't really have a lot of reps with this deck, and it just kind of didn't really work for us. Let's try another game out. Right, let's see how we go in this round. Okay, this seems like the sort of thing I want to do. I will keep this. It's kind of weird because this is going to bounce, so we're not going to be able to keep our exploration round for as long as we would like it. Sorry, we're not going to be able to get our Horn of Greed going straight away. Alright, I'll play this and I'll play out a bonus land here. Next time we can play out the Horn, but we don't really want to play out the Horn until we are the ones drawing the cards first. Alright, we're getting duressed. We are getting duressed. We're going to lose the Horn of Greed. That's the easy take here. So we've just drawn another one. Does that mean we're supposed to play it out now, or are we still on the same plan here? Go Wasteland, Paradise, and then I will Gaia's Blessing this away. Another Horn of Greed. My cup runneth over. A duress. You can take one of my Horn of Greeds. It's pretty funny. They duress their only Horn of Greed, and then the next time they duress us, we have 2 Horn of Greeds. Probably not how they expected this to go. Okay, so we'll play this one out. And we'll get the Horn in. Then we'll play our bonus land for turn. This is whenever a player plays a land, so it's not going to trigger if we crop rotate a land in. But we can turn one of these Wastelands into something better. We can also turn this Enlightened Tutor into something a little bit more desirable as well. Possibly another Horn of Greed. Wasteland, you get a card, opponents. So if they try and Wasteland us, we can crop rotate in response, which kind of makes me not want to Enlightened Tutor here. Ideally, they go after our Undiscovered Paradise. Or after our Wasteland would be nice, because we don't even want these. Alright, they're tapping out for Choking Sands. Destroy target non-swamp. Okay, I'm going to crop rotate away this Undiscovered Paradise in response. And we're going to go and find another Undiscovered Paradise. Oh, wow. They've had enough. They just don't think they can get through our draw engine. The lands deck against the mono black land destruction deck. Alright, I would like this Sacred Ground, I guess. And I don't really know enough about our opponent's deck to be able to board in anything else. Like maybe this Rare Revelation is good, but we already have the one of Seal of Cleansing we can tutor for. I'm going to get rid of a Summer Bloom. And then we'll just leave it like this, and then we'll see what happens. And we can change things up. A turn 1 Sylvan Library will certainly help. Then we'll keep this one. Our opponent might be interested in dressing us. Feels like they're that sort of a player. Nope, okay. Reflecting Pool. We know that the Wastelands aren't actually that useful. But the Rift's Grove doesn't tap for mana. It's all slightly awkward there, isn't it? Alright, I think we play the Mox Diamond and we have to get rid of... I think it's the Reflecting Pool, actually. This allows us to turn 1 Library. And I don't believe their black deck's going to have much for it. Although, again, we could just get bodied by Dystopia. A Dark Ritual. Okay. It is the Dystopia. Very nice. Thank you for that, opponent. We will sacrifice the only thing we can. And now what? I guess we want to get our land in. Does this work underneath? I guess we want to bounce the land anyway, don't we? So we tap this, we play this. We bounce our Wasteland. And we can deploy the Horn of Greed. That just gets our draw engine up and running for next turn. Our opponent does get the first bite of the cherry here. But our deck is going to be way better at doing this. We can go get something like an Exploration. It doesn't feel great. Maybe we're not supposed to have Explorations in against black decks. We're supposed to turn them into... We're supposed to keep the Summer Blooms instead. Because the Dystopia is just such an annoying card for us to get through. 3 mana. Rancid Earth. Goodbye land that we have. Have nothing to sack to this. Seismic Assault, you say. I will deploy a Wasteland and draw a card. A Seal of Cleansing. I'm down to get a Seal of Cleansing in. Let's see if our opponent pays for this Dystopia or not. They can force us to use the seal on the Dystopia. Or they can just let it go. Right, they're forcing us to use the seal on it. But do we even care? I don't think we do. We don't have any green permanents. A Duress. So what do we lose here? Probably the Enlightened Tutor, I would guess. Because we can tutor and then immediately draw it because of how Horn of Greed just lets us keep drawing the stuff we want. Yep, there goes the Enlightened Tutor. So they're getting their draw from the Horn of Greed. Choking Sands. You've got it, opponent. I'll just blow this up now. They've paid the life for it. A Rishadan Port and a Reflecting Pool. I'll take a Rishadan Port. I'm quite happy to crop rotate this into something else. A Glacial Chasm. Okay. So the thing is, our opponent has got a lot of cards to blow up lands, but we have more lands than most decks. Black Knight. It's a guy. Protection from white. Okay. Horn of Greed. Yep, they got some manas going there. So we can Rishadan Port down their port. So let's get that out of here so we have all our mana if we can draw something useful. Which is a distinct possibility. We could draw something useful. Trade routes, you say. I will play this Reflecting Pool. I will draw my card. To Rith's Grove. This taps for colourless. So we can go blue and colourless to get trade routes. And then if they try and wasteland anything, we can bounce it using the trade routes. This also just lets us continue to keep running lands in. Although I don't think that's going to be a problem given the tools we have right now. The Seismic Assault will be able to kill this at some stage. Actually, we can fire it in next turn if we want to. Because we can play the Rift Grove and then tap the Reflecting Pool with a trigger on the stack for red. And just have our permanents in. Seems like a reasonable place to be. Now they could Rishadan Port us down. Hypnotic Spectre. Okay. I think we're so close. Where does Rishadan Port go? I assume it goes after our Reflecting Pool. Oh, they're going after our Rishadan Port. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so we play out the Rift Grove here. That's for red. Draw extra card. Then we bounce this Reflecting Pool. We could bounce the Port. Is that better? Probably. We don't really need the Port right now. And then we go red, red, red. Play this out. And then our opponent is officially in having a bad time mode. I think we will bin off this City of Brass here. And we can afford to take 2 from this, actually. Like, we have 10 damage here. What is this? Ebon's Stronghold. Tapped, and it taps for multiple manas if they sack it. Okay. These lands are cool. So we can just take 2. That's fine. We don't need to worry about that yet. I would like an Exploration. That'd really let us start working with what we got here. I hope they're not playing a 2 toughest creature. Icequake. Destroy target land. Okay. So that makes our Reflecting Pool a lot worse, but we have an Undiscovered Paradise, so. Rancid Earth. How much damage does it do? 1 damage to each creature and each player. Okay. A Rishadan Port. Okay, I will play this Undiscovered Paradise to make sure I draw a card. A Goblin Trenches. That can be useful down the stretch. I think we're probably just going to kill the Black Knight this turn. Goodbye, Rishadan Port. A Hypnotic Spectre. Sure. We don't need to answer that now. We can wait until we've had a turn. A Black Knight. Sure. We're going to port down our Undiscovered Paradise. Let's make sure we've got enough food to shoot their guys down. An Exploration. Okay, that's interesting. We can go Exploration into Paradise plus Port. Let's just yield to this trigger and get our cards. A Brushland, that's fine. We've got a Port here. Play this. Like, I think we're absolutely fine here. I think it's just a matter of time before our opponent loses this one. Let's shoot this. We've got, I think Glacial Chasm is fine here. I don't... Is it Brushland? I don't think it's Brushland. The Dust Bowl might come in handy. If they've got man lands, we're going to want to be able to answer them reliably. Horn of Greed. Our opponent's going to draw a card off of that. They have double ports now. Alright. They know the writing's on the wall here. Their land destruction deck cannot compete with our playing all the lands deck. I think we had a better go of playing this than the previous round. I'm not happy with the way I played the previous round, but let's not dwell on it. On to round number 4. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. Alright, we are on the play. Our opening hand does not play Magic the Gathering, so let's mulligan this one. I think we can probably work with this one. It's a bit weird, but I think we can get there. These Mox Diamonds are looking pretty rubbish though. Alright, so we probably want to get a Sylvan Library with our Enlightened Tutor. We'll see what our opponent's up to and maybe it changes our approach. Alright, let's get the Undiscovered Paradise in. A Swamp. Are we getting duressed? We're not. Do I want to get a Sylvan Library right now? I don't know if we do. We can only cast the next turn if we pitch something to Mox Diamond. I think we're just going to take a turn here and see what we can develop. Okay, we get our Reflecting Pool. And now we can go and get a... I think it still has to be the Library. I don't think we're ready for the Horn of Greed yet. We'll see what our opponent's up to and maybe we change our mind. Daragaza's Caldera. Oh, are they playing Jund? Love a bit of Jund. Black, black. Is this going to be Ravenous Rats? We have a Summer Bloom that we do not require here. A Dark Ritual. That's a little scary. Power Matrix. Target creature gets +1/+1, gains flying, first strike, and trample until end of turn. Okay. That is an interesting one. What are they ramping out? Is there a creature they're going to ramp out that does stuff based on how its power when it hits us? Could well be. Maybe we just want to get our Seismic Assault down this turn and hopefully draw a land. Let's have a look at our deck. What might we want here? I don't think we're doing Goblin Trenches. We could get the Seal of Cleansing, but that feels not the most exciting, does it? I think I'm just going to take a turn here. Another Undiscovered Paradise. So we could deploy a Seismic Assault right now. I think that's what I'm going to do. And if they're playing a little guy, so most of the scary guys that if they deal damage to you, they do X to you, like make you discard X cards or bounce X permanents or whatever, like Cephalid Constable. They tend to be smaller creatures, so we should be able to pick it up with a Seismic Assault in theory. We'll find it. This doesn't give it haste, does it? Alright. We're doing some black creatures here. Still not really any of the wise what our opponent is up to. So we play this out, and we're working towards a Horn of Greed now, I think. We've got 6 damage that we can fire at a scary creature at some point. I do enjoy the Undiscovered Paradise plus Reflecting Pool mana base though. A Delphi Horror. Okay, are they going to pump it a Carnophage? Sure, this doesn't give anything haste, does it? No. Maybe I will get the Seal of Cleansing now. Because the Bad Moon is worth a lot of damage every turn here. Flying, First Strike, Trample. So blowing this up saves us 2 damage this turn. Let's blow up this Bad Moon. And then we can bop this with a Gemstone Mine. Even if they pump this, we can still kill the Carn. Even if they pump this, it still dies. I guess we just have to take 2 from this. This kind of defends it from Seismic Assault, but that's fine. Grinning Demon. That is a big boy. A very large boy. Okay, so you're saying we're in trouble. Wasteland. So we could blow up all of their creatures and not really have anything else going on. There's 7. So many keywords on this. So if we dome this Carnophage now, it takes us 2 lands to do. Or we can dome this for 4 lands, but then we have no lands. I guess we try and dome the Carnophage in our opponent's turn. Playing out a land. I think we play out the Undiscovered Paradise. We can always jump it back to our hand if we get in that sort of situation. By doing this in our opponent's turn, we at least force the +1 on here, which means that the Carnophage is going to be not only hitting them, but it's going to be absorbing the power metric, so our face isn't absorbing the extra 1 point of damage. Not that it matters based on our current life total. A Bad Moon. There's a very bad moon for us. Let's throw this Wasteland out. Are they going to use their power matrix to save their guy? So now we deal 2 damage to this. And then we will get rid of the Reflecting Pool here. Okay, so we're going to get hit for 7 this turn. Yikes. I don't think we're bouncing a land back here. Maybe we have to, though. That's a depressing thought. A Reflecting Pool. So we have 6 damage here. So we can bounce this back next turn, and then we have enough to kill the Grinning Demon. But it doesn't feel great to be us right now. So it's going to be 8 damage. They might only do 7. They might not fire. They're in the power matrix. They might save this to save their creatures from damages. Not that it really matters when it's an odd number anyway. Alright, let's tap this. We draw a land. And then we have to pitch our entire hand just to kill this Grinning Demon. Kervex Spite. Yeah, you got me. So if you're unfamiliar with this one, you sacrifice everything you have and discard your hand to deal 5 damage. Alright, I guess I just wanted it more. Okay, so this looks like an Oath of Druids matchup. I'll take this, and I guess we want the Hydra in as well. They've got some stuff that we're interested in blowing up with this Rare Revelation. I don't know if I'm interested in the Aura of Silence, but maybe. What doesn't seem good here? The Enlightened Tutors are kind of slow, but we also want the Oath of Druids. Maybe we take out a Gamble because it's a little bit sketchy. Maybe we take out some crop rotations and a couple of Wastelands. They seem to be mostly black here. Take out a couple of Wastelands for this. The Chasm is fine. I guess Dust Bowl, not so hot either. Still want the Horn of Greed and the Trenches and the Assault. Maybe we're trimming on Summer Blooms. Get rid of the Summer Blooms altogether. We're more into doing Oath stuff here. Playing a lot of mono-black matchups, or mostly black matchups today. Okay, I'll keep this. Let's get this Exploration in and play our Rishadan Port. And hopefully our opponent plays a Carnophage, we play an Oath of Druids, and then our opponent has a bit of trouble. So we saw the Daragaz's Caldera. That might be a splash for things like Naturalize. Please don't duress me. Dark Ritual, just play a guy. Dathly Slayer, sure. And Carnophage? Sarcomancy, sure. Okay. Hopefully we have the time to just win this game with an Oath of Druids. So we're just taking 4 this turn. That's fine by me. And we get Ancestor Chosen or the big dinosaur dragon thing, which I've never played before, so I'm curious to see how it feels. They should be able to ping out a bunch of their things though. Yep. Once you're underneath the Oath, you kind of just have to lean into it. We can't really Enlightened Tutor for anything once the Oath's going. I would like to use the Oath, please. Alright, we've got this big dragon in. Okay. So what do we do with this? We pay to kill their things. Alright. I'll remove a counter to ping this. I'll remove a counter to ping this. And then we take 2. And then our Oath gets to trigger again. And we get the Ancestor's Chosen, which should hopefully gain us a boatload of life. That's a horror. We can ping that in a second. Yes, please. Alright. We gain a lot of life. Play a Rishadan Port. I will use this to ping this guy down. What do we do with this Enlightened Tutor? Not a lot. I can play this Horn of Greed and get that going for next turn potentially. We've got Rare Revelation. I can flash back as well. So I guess the plan is we mill over our entire library and we Gaia's Blessing it all in. I will go to blocks here. I guess they don't have more creatures than us now, so it is what it is. So we could Enlightened Tutor here, or we could just try and draw a land since we have Horn of Greed anyway. Okay, I guess we are attacking because we are very far ahead on the race. I guess I will Gaia's Blessing. I will shuffle some cards in. I guess this Ancient Hydra is probably pretty interesting in having in there. And Trenches. Alright, green and 1. We drew a Rith Grove. That's quite handy, isn't it? We have an expiration, so we can do this all next turn. Although we lose this land. But maybe we draw a land. It doesn't matter. But also, if we need to Rev Revelation. I don't know why we would have to Rev Revelation. We're at 40 life here. Bounty Slayer is just going to keep cracking. But it's a long time before this matters to us. Didn't draw the land that I wanted here. So we play out the Rith Grove here. I will bounce one of our Gemstone Mines that is low on counters. Then we'll deploy a Horn of Greed. Then I'll play a Gemstone Mine. And we'll draw a card. Alright, we can just keep sending in here. I don't know how our opponent's supposed to beat what we've got set up here. They've got City of Traitors, so they're obviously trying to really power out the big boys. Yep, you can have your Horn of Greed, and they stack this trigger. Oh, they stacked it the wrong way. So they should get to bounce this City of Traitors back to their hand, but they don't because they stacked them the wrong way. That might end up being quite relevant, I'm not sure. Some guy, yep, you can have some guy. Okay, so we get to Oath again. So really one of our Gaia's Blessing in the last 8 cards. Curious. Okay. So I guess we attack with this Ancestor's Chosen. I'll play a Rith Grove out and I'll bounce this Gemstone Mine. And then I will deploy a Seismic Assault. Red. 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 And then we have a bunch of damage that we can ping off as well. Not quite lethal, but close. So they get a 5. This only pings creatures, right? Oh, to any target. Okay, our opponent is dead. So we ping them for 2, and then we shoot them for 4. Okay, that worked pretty well. Do that again, I guess. The Oath seems pretty brutal for them to play against. We can't keep this hand. Let's mulligan it. Oh, this hand has Oath of Druids in. I'll keep this. We'll put the Ancient Hydra. It's worth remembering that the Ancient Hydra is the bottom card of our library. We will need to find a second land, but our deck is just full of lands. We have the Oath here. There you go. I'll play out a Brushland here and pass. So they've got peat bogs and cities. So they're really trying to hammer out some big, giant monsters. Dystopia is a card our opponent can play. I'm going to deploy this Sylvan Library before I do the Oath here. I think this is good enough to bait out a Dystopia if they have it. And if they don't have it, then we obviously get to draw some more cards, make some land drops, and do all the things we want. 4 mana. Is this going to be a big grinning demon, perhaps? Daragaz's Caldera, resetting the counters like we're doing on our Gemstone Mines. So this might just be purely to reset lands. Yep, so then they have a big guy. Understood. Yes, I would like to use Sylvan Library's ability. We do not need this Sylvan Library. And we do not need a Horn of Greed. I will deploy this City of Brass, and I will cast this Oath of Druids. So we get the Ancestor's Chosen first, because we know the bottom card of our library at this point. We haven't had anything that shuffles our library yet. Like our tutors. A Peat Bog. That's the one we saw earlier. So we're going to take 6 here, which is obviously quite a big chunk. And we need to be wary of Kervex Spite, which is cool. If I'm going to get killed by something, I want it to be that, I guess. Yes. Okay, so we put these abilities on the bottom, and then the Ancestor Chosen on the top. So we gain all this life, and then it shuffles in. And then we should be fine here. Sylvan Library. Let's see what you got for us. Right, I don't really want this. Don't really want this very much either. But we can afford to pay the life. We have millions of lives. Okay, I guess we're attacking here. Oh no, we can't attack. It's only just come in. So I want to play this Mox Diamond out. And I'm going to pitch this. And then... Am I going to play this Horn of Greed? I don't think so. We can just hold up the prevent all combat damage that we dealt by attacking creatures this turn. Notice this is dealt by, not to, so you can block and kill something whilst not taking damage. It's pretty gross. We've got a graveyard popped up here, if it stays relevant. Oath of Druids is a very messed up card. Right, so we take 1 damage instead of 6 because we're using the Kor Haven. No point in blocking. We've got a 4-turn clock here. It's actually less than 4 turns because the Green Demon is hurting them every turn. I don't really want this. So this can go on top. This can go on top. And then we can shuffle them away with Enlightened Tutor. We didn't need to take 1 damage last time, did we? That was a mistake. Okay. So opponent goes to 10. They go to 6 and they go to 8. Off of this. Obviously we're going to be bashing them for a bit. But if they don't deal us damage, this is going to deal... Well, this is going to deal them damage regardless. And we kind of have them covered. They're only pushing 1 damage by attacking into our City of Brass. Although we can obviously just use our Mox Diamond, but we have another use for the Mox Diamond. Alright, we're going to shuffle our library here, so let's get this Enlightened Tutor going. What do I like here? Honestly, not really into very many of these things. Trade routes is fine. I'll take the trade routes, as weird as that may look. Alright, Sylvan Library, do your job. We don't need these. Sure, I'll keep this to expiration though. So what do we do here? We play the trade routes this turn, I think. This blue and colourless. Then we can play this exploration. Get this going. And then next turn we can do some interesting things. Just get our draw engine on. Bad Moon. You got it. You have a 7/7. You can hit me for 7 if you want. It's not a small amount of damage. A horror, sure. And a Sarcomancy. Also pretty good. This Red Revelation should be quite good at blowing up the Bad Moon at least. And we just take 7 this time. This can't be blocked and it has Shadow, so it can't block either. Are we bouncing this now? It doesn't make a difference if we bounce it now or later. I get my little friend out. Shuffle all this in. And we trigger this. Sure, I think we just kill our opponent this turn, don't we? So, if we deploy this... can we kill our opponent? We have red, red, and then we have to play out this Mox. We can play out this Undiscovered Paradise, it's fine as well. Red. We get the Seismic Assault in. So this is 2, 4, 6, and then 2 off of this. Alright, that works. If I can do my maths. So 2 from the Grinning Demon. And then I return this land. And then I return this land. And then we dome our opponent for 2. We dome them for another 2. And for the final 2. I do love Grinning Demon. I don't think it's doing enough. Are they going to Carevex Spite here? They are. They're targeting themselves. That's the way to go out. GG's opponents. Alright, so that is 3 and 1 going to the final round. Let's see if we can get a 4-1. Okay, Sylvan Library is a perfectly good thing to be doing, so I'm going to keep this hand. We also can't be duressed off of it, which is nice. Alanor Elves, we're playing against actual elves. That might be a bit tricky. I think I'll play out the Gemstone Mine. Going to be another matchup where we rely on Oath of Druids. Yep, so then they can tap this for a mana, bounce this, tap this for another mana, and get something like a Priest of Titania in. That's probably the best thing they can do here. Survival's pretty good too, but I think the Priest is better. There it is. Wirewood Symbiote, that's pretty good too. Yikes. That's our opponent's hand. A lot of these are legacy cards. We don't have a Tabernacle, because that's not legal in the format. So we're just going to play a Sylvan Library, and then our opponent's probably going to smash us up something fierce here. What do we even have in our sideboard for this? Is it just the Oaths? Is that our plan? Yeah, it's just the Oath. And we've got this Hydra. I think you should be playing Shard Phoenix instead of the Hydra, personally. but the Hydra does keep shooting stuff, which can be useful. So you can like go to the face, let it die, get shuffled in, go to the face, let it die, and just sort of loop that. Quirion Ranger. Yep, that is more mana off this Priest of Titania. So this is effectively a free spell. Is this just going to be a Deranged Hermit? It is. Yikes. And they can bounce this next turn and go again. Whew. That is pretty scary turn 3. Like this would be a good turn 3 or it would be a pretty reasonable turn 3 by Legacy standards, to be honest, let alone Premodern. Alright, so they've already bounced in. They're going to play it again now. So they're going to end up with a Deranged Hermit, making 4 more squirrels. Alright, so we're untapping the priests. Get some more mana. All of this off of 1 land is quite scary as well. 8 mana. There's no Crate Hoops in this format. There is Kamal, Fist of the Crozer, which has Overrun as an ability that you can sink mana into. It is Kamal, Fist of the Crozer. Okay. And a Call of the Herd. Jeez. Call of the Herd's unusual. Our opponent might be mono green. Okay, so next turn they just pop this Overrun and then all their creatures get huge. What are we supposed to do about this? Die, I guess. Alright, that was a very quick dispatching from our opponent there. They kill us on turn 4. And we don't really get to interact. So we can get the Glacial Chasm, but I just don't think sitting behind the Glacial Chasm is going to work very well for us. Maybe like I'm being a bit defeatist doing that, but I just don't think that is going to work. Alright, Oath of Druids, plus Ancient Hydra, plus Ancestor's Chosen. These things seem good, as does the Cursed Totem. Seismic Assault will blow up a bunch of their things. Probably not on the Summer Bloom plan. Maybe we'll trim this gamble. The Wastelands didn't look the most useful, but they probably have Cradle, so I guess they probably are a little bit more useful. Kor Haven can stop one big guy. I think we actually want the crop rotations for this. If we can go and get the Glacial Chasm. Are we doing Horn of Greed things? Our opponent's very good at bouncing and playing around our Horn of Greeds. So maybe we're not doing Horn of Greeds. How do we win? Is it just we're just playing Oath? Maybe we'll have 1/1 so we can still tutor for it and have that going. Maybe 2 Horn of Greeds, 1 Library. Try this. We'll keep the Seal of Cleansing in because our opponent's probably playing Survival, and I wouldn't mind tagging that. But they might also have things like Tangle Wire. Okay. I wish we had a Mox Diamond, but beggars can't be choosers. Right, City of Brass. So next time we play the Cursed Totem, that shuts down our opponent in a big way. Sylvan Safekeeper, you got it. I think we take this turn to play this Oath while I have 1 creature. So we can get something down and then we can Cursed Totem. I imagine our opponent doesn't have a choice but to play into this. They can obviously draw things like Naturalizes. I think they're just going to play more creatures. Alright, they have a Naturalize. That's obviously very good. But we can go and get another one. Right, Reflecting Pool. Cursed Totem. No creature activated abilities for you. So this includes mana abilities. So we're not going to have to worry about our opponent jamming us up with a bunch of elves that tap for 1,000,000 mana like Priest of Titania anymore. It does shut off our Hydra, which is a little bit less good. It's a 1 mana 1/1. A Winter Orb. Okay. I will still tap this at end of turn and get ourselves a new Oath of Druids. We can work on doing other stuff afterwards. So we'll untap this Reflecting Pool. I'll play this Rith Grove. I will bounce this Rishadan Port. I will deploy a second Oath of Druids. A Hydra is just a stupid 5/1 that is just going to not do very much. But that's okay. Another Naturalize. Like when you got the goods, you got the goods at the end of the day. Okay. It's getting a little tricky. We'll untap the Reflecting Pool. It taps for everything. A Mox Diamond. Yes, please. Let's get that in. Pitch a Rishadan Port. Play a Rishadan Port. I don't know if I'm interested in keeping them off of this Gaia's Cradle. See what they untap. I assume it's going to be the Cradle and then we just port it down. I think that is worth doing. And we have the Mox Diamond for it. So we can kind of continue this plan. But we are taking 2 every turn. At some point we'll find a solution to this problem. A Wasteland will be okay here. Another Cradle. Okay. Survival. Yeah. That's going to find them anything they want. I guess we'll take the port here. I don't think it matters that much. Maybe we're supposed to take a red source. Alright, what about Oath of Druids? Third time is hopefully the charm. And I'll play out this Undiscovered Paradise. So they have the morph creature, which you can morph because morph is not an activated ability. It's a special action. Because the way that you have unknown information on morphs meant they had to design it so it was like this weird special action thing. So it doesn't use the stack to turn something face up. So what are they getting here? We should get a trigger off of our Oath of Druids at least. And that should hopefully undo a lot of this damage. Or we get the 5-1, which kind of just sits there and looks bad because you have this Cursed Totem in play. I'll have this Rith Grove, please, I think. Actually, no, I think I want the Rishadan Port. Please gain me 1,000,000 life. It was the very top card, and it's the worst one. Okay. I guess we hold this. I will port them out here. So they're obviously going to use the Survival of the Fittest for a bunch of things. But they're not going to have enough mana to play and unmorph a Nantuko. I can't remember what it's called, but it blows up. It is naturalized on a guy. Anger. Okay. So they want to have hasty guys. That's understandable. Squee. That's going in there. That's just their little card advantage engine alongside the survival. Nantuko Vigilante. That's the one. I'm going to attack. I'll trade this Hydra. What do we trade it for? Probably not. Well, if they're getting rid of our creature, if they're getting rid of this Cursed Totem at some point, I would like the Ancient Hydra to be back in the mix as a thing that we can ping all their elves with. I will untap this Rishadan Port. I will go and get Ancestor chosen, hopefully gain like 1,000,000 life. Alright, a pretty big chunk of life here. Should have brought in the Rare Revelation, shouldn't we? Okay. So we have the biggest thing on the board and double our opponent's life total. So let's tap down this Cradle again. We've got the Squee back in hand. Played a land. It's all good for our opponent to attack. It's not great for us to attack either. I will untap this Rishadan Port again. I will do this, and then all my guys' blessings will shuffle in. Alright, they've had enough of playing around my Oath, because they know we can just loop it over and over again, and it's going to be really difficult for our opponent to get through. So they need to break our Cursed Totem, but as soon as they do that, we have a guy that pings down their entire board every turn. Okay, that was tough, but we managed to do something there. Maybe I like this Seismic Assault more than I think I do, because it blows up all their guys. And maybe we want this Rare Revelation as well. But then we have to cut some stuff. Maybe we're just cutting a library. And what? An exploration. Just trim one of those. The explorations don't feel that good when you don't have a way of just filling up your hand. Like once you've got your engine running, sure, it feels good. But it's not very good unless you have things that are already going your way. Whereas like in Legacy, it's like, okay, you play out a bunch of stuff, but then you also have loans that are inevitable. I will keep this. It looks like an anti-elf hand to me. Right, I'm going to pitch a City of Brass to this. I'll play out this Brushland. I shouldn't have played out the Brushland. That was a mistake. Because we want to have red, red, red as soon as possible. Tranquil Domain. Sure. Goodbye, Oath of Druids. We take one from the Findhorn. And now we can't deploy the Seismic Assault like I wanted to. That is an awkward one. So I think we play this out and I will preemptively get a Seal of Cleansing ready to go. So this will keep survival pegged down. And they might burn a Naturalizer or a Tranquil Domain on this Seal of Cleansing. Yavimaya Granger. So this gets them a basic land. So the main reason they play this is so they can get the Mountain, which then gives them haste when the Anger's in the graveyard. And there it is. Take one. Goblin Trenches is pretty cool as well. Okay, so we float red, we risk Grove, we bounce this Gemstone Mine, we play a Seismic Assault, and then we pass it over. My Kingdom for a Life from the Loam. Unfortunately, we don't get Life from the Loam in this format. Probably for the best. Are you playing the Echo on this one? Looks like they are. Okay. I'd rather save my burn for things like the Priest of Titania. They're naturalizing the Seal of Cleansing of all things. Okay. Am I willing to burn a land just to kill a Yavimaya Granger? I don't think so. This is probably a better piece on the board right now. I guess we just hold these things and try and kill all our opponent's creatures. This is also a weird situation you sometimes find yourself in. The Seismic Assault wants you to keep lands in hand. Survival of the fittest. Yep. I thought about doing something and decided against it. I wonder what that was. A Kor Haven. That stops them going tall. That's probably worth playing out, isn't it? How are we supposed to overcome the card advantage they're going to get off the squee? It's an anger. So then they're going to discard that and probably get a squee. And they're going to discard the squee and get some massive guy. Uktabi Orangutan. Yeah, you got it. So they're going to use that. Is the Orangutan the one that blows up enchantments or artifacts? It's artifacts. They're going to blow up our Mox. Gaia's Cradle. So you have all the mana you could possibly want. And they have all the cards they could possibly want. Seems like a bad situation for us. Let's prevent the damage off of the Orangutan. And then we're going to Seismic Assault the Granger here. This means they can't play a Deranged Hermit now. A Winter Orb, you say? Okay. Can we draw the Wastelands, I guess? I guess we'll untap the Riths because it taps for the most amount of colours here. Exploration. We're not really doing that right now, are we? It's not what this game is about. I don't think we're going to be able to get through this one. Phantom Nantuke. Okay, so it's like a 2-2, but if we deal damage to it, instead of dying, it gets smaller. Let's take out the Orangutan. We didn't attack with it. That must be a mistake, surely. I guess the Kor Haven is fine here. A Rishadan Port, so we can tap them down every other turn, or we can just hold up ways of shooting their creatures. Is it time to kill this Findhorn? I think it might be. Had a good run, Findhorn. Now get in the bin. So if we turn the Cradle into something, just... Okay, this taps and puts counters on itself as well, which is pretty cool. That's why I didn't attack. I didn't read that far down the card. See, some of the old cards used to have a lot of text on too. Yeah, this seems pretty good against like sweepers and things like that. We could get fighting in the trenches. Just sack lands and hope that we can win with a bunch of 1-1 guys. Might be our plan. We're probably going to finish this game with no lands in play. Although it's very hard to have no lands in play with Goblin Trenches though, because it requires 2 to sacrifice a land and make some guys. A Well-Wisher. That's an interesting one to have. That must be just like a singleton. I can't see them boarding in a bunch of them for us. Right, I just want to keep making their guy get bigger. Horn of Greed. I'm not sure that we're about Horn of Greed. But maybe we are. Like, maybe we just try and do the thing that we want our deck to do. And hope for the best. Okay, Rishadan Port. Find me something helpful. Undiscovered Paradise. That's a pretty good one to go with the old Horn of Greed. Yep, Nantuko is just getting larger and larger. At what point do they start turning it sideways? Now, our opponent also gets to draw lands from our Horn of Greed. So, symmetrical effects are, unfortunately, very symmetrical. We've got a Queer Rager. Getting rid of our Seismic Assault. Is that what this game is about? No. I don't think it is anymore. I think this game is about this Horn of Greed and possibly Goblin Trenches. They can gain a bunch of life with this Well-Wisher, and they can make their guy bigger. He's going to come in for 5 now. Surely it's time to start attacking with it. Yeah, here we go. Rith Grove, please. Crop rotation. Right, let's play a land. A Glacial Chasm. That buys us a little bit of time, doesn't it? And our sacrifice is Brushland, I think. Another exploration. Well, I guess we're doing this. So our Undiscovered Paradise bounces, so we at least have 1 land in the bank. Get a few turns underneath the chasm, and then we can turn it into a different chasm if we want to. We're just trying to assemble our engine now, and if we can get enough stuff and make enough goblins, then we'll be okay. The Winter Orb does make things difficult. Our Seal of Cleansing is gone. We're going to have to shuffle that back in if we want to get that going. So we need to find like Oath of Druids, gain a bunch of life off of it, and then try and stabilize. This game might go on for quite a while, or we could die quite quickly. So we get 2 turns of protection from this Glacial Chasm. And hopefully we can find something useful. We can also do like the play where we turn this into another chasm, or we can turn a different land into a Rith's Grove to bounce this in our opponent's end step. And then we can replay it. So there's some game here to play. I think we untap the Rith's Grove. And the Paradise jumps back on its own. Enlightened Tutor. Okay, so we go... Now the problem is they can just go and get an answer for our thing. Is there anything really helpful that we can actually get here? We get another Horn of Greed. So we go Enlightened Tutor here. Go and get the Oath of Druids. Play a land for turn. Draw a card off the Horn of Greed. Play the Oath of Druids. Pass. Next turn we probably have to crop rotate for a Rith's Grove to bounce the Glacial Chasm. We do that in our opponent's end step. They can probably just go and get the Nantuko Vigilante. I haven't used that one yet, so they can just get that and blow up one of our permanents. But which one do they blow up? Is it the Horn of Greed or the Oath? Probably has to be the Oath, which means we get to keep the Horn of Greed, so we get to keep playing. And then maybe, just maybe, we get somewhere with these trenches. Oh, we got nothing here. We can have 6 for our opponent's turn. They're going to bounce a land and pump their Nishoba again. Sorry, their Nantuko. It's almost at Nishoba size. There's a Nantuko Vigilante. Do they get rid of the Oath of Druids though? It's a morph, could be anything. Don't know why they're doing their Well-Wisher when they could... I guess we're already at 6. But they do have a draw engine that we have provided them. We've made the game weird. It's morphed up. They're taking out the Oath. Okay. This is an Insect Druid Mutant, right? So they can't bounce it. We're going to untap the Rith's Grove here. We will pay 4 life here. Enlightened Tutor. We can't quite make the same play again here, can we? Especially since we need to do stuff with our Glacial Chasm. Let's draw a card. Draw a card. So if we play this, we can play the Oath. It doesn't actually help us out very much. Although we can do this all on the stack on our turn, can't we? So if we go white here, Enlightened Tutor, go and get the Oath of Druids, play the lands, draw the Oath of Druids, cast the Oath of Druids. Also, both of these lands are going to bounce next turn, so we're going to have access to 3 mana next turn. Alright, it's a real slog, this one, but we are still in this game. I don't think they have another Vigilante. We'll find out, I guess. We have the inevitability because we physically can't deck, and if we can have enough life to sit behind this Glacial Chasm, then we're going to have a good time. Because we can just Gaia's Blessing over and over again. Unless they have some sort of graveyard hate that we haven't seen yet. But I don't know why they would board in graveyard hate against us. Unless, like, they shouldn't really care about us having this inevitability in the super duper late game. Because if we get to that stage, they probably just... It's probably game over anyway. Alright, I would like to untap this one. Let's go back to my hand. I'll put this on the bottom. And then the Oath of Druids. And we get a trigger. We're going to get the rubbish man, aren't we? I feel it in my bones. Is it the Hydra? It is the Hydra. It's always the Hydra. So we want to crop rotate here to put the land back into our deck. So we crop rotate this Rishadan Port away. Then we go and get the Rith's Grove. And then we bounce this Glacial Chasm. And this all happens. We won't pay for this. We draw a card. Okay, so then it's the Chasm coming in. Probably sacrifice the Kor Haven. And then we play out an Undiscovered Paradise. We'll just yield to these triggers because there's a lot of them. We play another Undiscovered Paradise. And then we play out Goblin Trenches. Or do we want to hold up this Enlightened Tutor for something? We don't have the most amount of time to it, so I think we're just going to hold up for pinging with our Hydra. It ends up being better for us. So they're going to do some stuff at end of turn. Alright, let's ping this down. Let's ping this down as well. So the Hydra can always ping itself as well because it's a 5-1. Yep, you get the Horn of Greed. So I think this game does end up coming down to decking most of the time. If they can kill the Oath of Druids this turn, then I think they win. Otherwise, I think we're just in this little loop and our opponent doesn't really get anywhere. Lammer Elves, sure. Priest of Titania, that's a lot of mana. Actually, no, it's only 2, right? Because 2 of them aren't elves. Weird game. Another guy that we don't care about. Cool. Sylvan Safekeeper. Okay. Let's ping down this Priest of Titania, I guess. So we're going to get the our Oath and we're going to gain a bunch of life, hopefully. It's not going to be the top card. That would really jam us up. I'll untap this Rith Groves, please. Alright, so this goes on the bottom. Then this. Then this. Not the most amount I was hoping for. Truth be told. Yes, I'll pay 2 life this time around. Undiscovered Paradise. Drawing a card. Undiscovered Paradise. Drawing a card. So we're kind of looking towards doing... yeah, so we can go for the Enlightened Tutor now. Get Seismic Assault. Play a Reflecting Pool. Draw a card. Put the Seismic Assault into play. We have to try and dome our opponent for all of their life total at some point. We can also dome our Ancestor Chosen and put it back into the deck at some point, which is a very long and contrived way, but that is what this game is going to be about, I'm afraid. Here comes the squeeze. So what we do is we shoot our Ancestor's Chosen in response to the trigger from the Oath, and then hopefully... well, actually, no. The Oath should then mill over the Gaea's Blessings, which then shuffles us in, and then the next turn, we get it back. So we take 4, we go to 1 this turn. These are pretty tight margins. A Deranged Hermit, sure. Like, we're never not going to have a Glacial Chasm up. This game entirely comes down to whether or not our opponent draws and naturalize. I guess we can still Enlightened Tutor and get the Oath going. So maybe we're supposed to get a second Oath to make sure that we can do that. What a strange game. Opponent might just time out though. Untap a Rith Grove as per usual. Alright, so put this on the bottom. Then the Hydra. Hold priority. Do this. Target them. And then we will shoot our Ancestor's Chosen once. Shoot it a second time. It goes into the bin. The Oath of Druids triggers. Yes. We shuffle everything in. Then we will pay 4 life. And then I guess we are playing an Undiscovered Paradise out. I guess we don't want to draw the Ancestor's Chosen, which can be a little bit awkward. I think we Enlightened Tutor for another Oath of Druids. Play out this Undiscovered Paradise. Cast the Oath of Druids. We don't actually want to draw any more cards because we don't want to draw the Ancestor's Chosen here. Alright, we are mostly shields down this turn. But that's kind of fine. Like, we've got 3 bits of Seismic Assault we can fire. But we can also put this Ancient Hydra back into our deck. And next time we hit with a Gaea's Blessing. So we're just going to kind of keep rolling here. Ranged Hermit, sure. That is not a Tranquil Domain or a Naturalize. We need our Ancestor Chosen to hit big for us, ideally. Like 20 to 40 life would be nice, because then we can just sit behind this Glacial Chasm forever. And we do have a second Glacial Chasm, and we can loop them when they eventually die. Yeah, you've got a lot of squirrels. We're very dead if we don't have a Glacial Chasm, understood. So this Ancient Hydra is going to die. I will untap this Rith Grove. Actually, no, the Reflecting Pool is better, isn't it? Okay, this goes on the bottom. And then we have these 2. And then the Hydra. So the Hydra dies. Then the first Oath can shuffle it back in, so the second Oath can pick it up. How much life are we gaining here? Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. So we put these on the bottom. So we gain a lot of life here. So our Glacial Chasm is A-OK. We shuffle in the Hydra. The Hydra comes back, and then we can just start doming our opponent. All right. That was an absolute slog. We managed to grind our way through it, and I'm glad that you stuck with me to the end there, because that was really interesting how we had to layer a bunch of stuff, and shows you the inevitability of the Gaea's Blessing decks. So, we went 4-1 today. The only round we lost is the round where I played horribly 2 games in a row. I think that's probably a pretty good sign for this deck, but it does feel like things can just slip away. So we had to do a lot of weird bits and pieces to get through our Elves deck, and we needed them to not have like the Naturalize and the Tranquil Domain on the clutch turns later on. So it was definitely difficult to navigate, and we keep coming across this problem of we want to play lands to get the Horn of Greed going, but we want lands in hand to get the Seismic Assault going, which means we kind of end up having to rip through our whole deck, and then we do like a big trades routes thing. And sometimes we just want to have stuff that we can clear the board with Seismic Assault, like we saw in some of the matchups. So it gets a little bit awkward. I'm sad we didn't get to do the Goblin Trenches thing, because this works really well with the Horn of Greed plan, because you're playing more lands out, and then you turn your lands into 1/1s, and then you just keep playing more lands out, just ripping through your deck that way, and it kind of facilitates what you want to do. So I actually think Goblin Trenches, a lot of the time, is going to be better than Seismic Assault, but Seismic Assault obviously just goes to the dome and has a lot of other utility as well. All in all, I think this deck is good, but I don't think it's like near the top tier by any stretch of the imagination pre-modern. It does feel like it can easily be picked apart, and you know, clutch Wastelands on your Glacial Chasm is going to make you sad. The truth of the matter is the lands in Legacy are so much better than the lands in pre-modern, and we just don't get things like Tabernacle and Maze of Ith, which would make a big difference. Like Kor Haven is similar, but it costs you 2 to activate and itself, so that's, you know, 3 times the resources. It costs you 3 lands worth of resources. And this is a format where Winter Orb is actually a pretty common card, and things like Sabo's Web is sometimes in people's main decks, so it can just be really tough for a deck like this. So yeah, definitely an interesting option that you can play, and I hope the donor who wanted to see lands is happy, especially after that massive slog we had in the last one. Alright, please remember to like and subscribe and check out my other pre-modern videos, and I also have a guide to the pre-modern format linked in the description. Goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.